Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for the video that you are about to see. It is my kitchen bench unveiling. Obviously my last video last week was unveiling the transformation of my kitchen cupboards, but this week it has really just taken it to a whole new level. Obviously I started with an ugly kind of 70s kitchen that was that sort of tea color with the lovely green bench, and then this week I now have a beautiful fresh white kitchen with a marble look bench. So I've gotten rid of the ugly green 70s look and I have now got a beautiful faux marble bench. So I don't have a massive budget. Ben and I have just moved into our house. We're saving for holidays, saving for life in general, and yeah, so I didn't have a massive budget, but I'm so excited to be working with Vinyl Home. They are a Kiwi company who specializes in sticky back plastic, so it's vinyl wrapping which can go on all manner of surfaces. I have chosen a faux marble look one to go on my bench top. I can't wait for you guys to see what my bench looks like. So without further ado, here is how I transformed my ugly green 70s bench into a faux marble masterpiece. As with any new project, it is so important to start with a blank canvas. So this means that I am taking everything off my kitchen bench and making sure there is nothing left behind. All my appliances, knives, fruit bowls, everything is going. And this also means that I need to take off the cupboard doors that rest on top of my bench, because I need to get right under them so that I can get the vinyl into the very back corner of that cupboard. Once the benches are clear of all of your stuff, it is time to give them a really thorough clean down. This is a very important part to applying vinyl successfully. Any grains of salt or anything left behind will show up underneath. I learnt this the hard way, but yeah, so I went in with the sugar soap that I used in my last video and really scrubbed the bench down. You'll notice me get down a few times to see if I can see anything in the light, and that is because I knew everything needed to be removed off the bench. To make application a breeze, I got a few different tools to use which really were essential. I used a pair of scissors, a craft knife, a measuring tape. I used a quick square, but you could use a ruler, a pencil, and also the application squeegee. This is a must-have and it helps you get all of the air bubbles out and makes the vinyl go on super smooth. When it comes time to actually apply your vinyl to the bench, my main advice is to make sure that you measure and make sure that you also have excess vinyl. This is so important because things do move when you're applying and it's not always going to look exactly like it looks when you lie it down on the bench. So make sure that you have a little bit of extra vinyl in your measurements and account a good 2 to 3 centimeters for going over the edge of the bench as well. As you can see, I'm cutting this off at a diagonal, and that is because I'm going to create a join here. I made sure when doing this I looked at the natural contour of my bench and the joins that were already there from the original install and tried to mimic those as best I could. Normally marble will have joins in it because you can't get slabs in this kind of shape, so I was cool with having to make joins. I just wanted to ensure that they mimic the ones that were there previously. when it came time to do the sink, this was the largest piece of vinyl that I was going to be working with, so it was really important that I take it nice and slow and try my best not to waste too much vinyl. I was really stoked because I did manage to get this first go, but it is something you need to pay special attention to. As you'll see, I initially cut quite a small hole for the tap just to fit through, and then I can always widen it later. That is the biggest lesson that I learned during this experience, is not to cut too much off or you will end up wasting vinyl. So I made sure I just cut a little bit of room so that the tap could get through, and then I could still lay the rest flat on the bench and go back in and cut the sink contours out later. For the most part, the edges were really easy in my kitchen. They are a curved edge, but they weren't so curved that the vinyl wouldn't fold down around them. You will see later on my technique for getting it around the curved edges of my benches, but for the most part, these edges were absolutely fine and I could just literally fold and smooth them down. So because my sink doesn't sit on top of the bench like most sinks do, it's actually attached underneath and there's a small gap between the bench and the top of the sink. It's kind of weird, kind of gross, but I didn't have the money to replace it right now. This meant that cutting out around it was a little bit different, so I, as you saw earlier, just made the initial small hole, and then when it was time to really trim out the edges, I very carefully, because I was so petrified of messing this up, very carefully took my craft knife and went in to remove the excess. I removed as much excess as I could first, and then when it was time to get down to the little bits, I went and put my craft knife very much on an angle, as you can see in the video, and this just went kind of glided even around the edge, and it made it so much easier. But again, do take it slow, because there were a couple of points where I was so worried that I had messed it up, because again, you can't take too much vinyl off because you're not going to be able to replace it. So yeah, just put it on that edge and make sure you've got a nice angle, and then slide it along as you see me doing. One of the main questions that I have been asked on social media since announcing that I'm going to be doing vinyl on my bench tops was how it would put up being in a kitchen type situation. The answer is absolutely fine. This is water resistant, and when it comes to putting it around your sink, all I did was simply get some $10 silicone and a caulking gun and just spread that around the edge. So obviously I went initially with the caulking gun, and then I went in with my finger, and you just put a little bit of water on it, and then you can just dab the silicone around. And then once it's dried a couple of days later, I went back in with my craft knife and cleaned this up. Finally, we are on to my last piece of bench, and it is the biggest piece of bench, and this is the one that caused me the most grief. Funnily enough, I thought it was going to be fine, but apparently not. I did end up having to get more vinyl because the last piece of vinyl was all I had left, and I did what I shouldn't have done. I broke the golden rule and I cut too much off and then got frustrated, and even though you can pick up and put down this vinyl quite a few times, when it's in such a large piece like this, I creased it and all sorts of things, and it was endlessly frustrating. You'll notice that there is a piece of vinyl along the front side of my bench. This is simply because my bench is so wide they don't make vinyl wide enough for it, so I did have to do sort of a bit of a join. This made the most sense for the way that my kitchen goes without having like 3 joins. Instead I could just have the one on the opposite side to where that strip is, and this I just thought was going to be the most aesthetically pleasing. Honestly, I have no idea how I managed to mess up that first one. I obviously just got a little overzealous when it came to cutting that join and cut off way too much extra, and I could not fix it. But honestly, this piece of bench was so easy to do. The vinyl just glided on there and was a total breeze to apply. Even the corners that I thought were going to be really hard weren't too bad at all. So when it comes to doing a curved edge on your bench, you simply just need to get a hairdryer or a heat gun, whatever you've got. I don't have a heat gun, I had a hairdryer, that's what they use in the tutorials, and you just need to heat it up and then stretch that vinyl right underneath. It was really hard for me to get a clear shot of this, but you can kind of see that finished look is absolutely fine. I just made sure to stretch it as far under as I could so that you couldn't see it, because it did kind of ruche a little bit for me. But once it was really far under the bench, it wasn't a big deal, and I didn't do it on camera, but I did trim that excess off and it looks fantastic. And finally, it was time to do the join that had wronged me once before. I was a little bit nervous, so I did put this off till last, but as you can see, it went off without a hitch. I basically did what I did for the other ones. It's just because this one was so much longer than the other joins I had been doing. I grabbed my quick square and the craft knife and just really carefully went along and created that join. You do need to leave a little bit of overlap for the best looking results, but I tried to make that overlap as small as possible. Finally, I ran my craft knife along the wall where I had put some excess vinyl up, just to clean up that edge and make sure that the edge was super crisp and tidy. I obviously have done this the entire way around the kitchen, but I haven't necessarily shown it. So this is where you get to see how to clean it up, and it is super simple. The vinyl just comes straight off and the craft knife just glides through it. But yeah, that is it. My final finished kitchen bench. I am so happy with it, and now it's time to put all the stuff back in the kitchen and reveal the finished result. I am completely obsessed with the finished result, and it is such a fantastic budget-friendly way to just bring your kitchen to life. I'm so excited to get in here every day. The kitchen is sort of the heart of my home anyway. I'm always cooking, and it just makes me so happy to be in here.